We would never have got this study done in Jordan. And so there will be parts that Ibraheem's going to talk to, but there we go. So just briefly, we interviewed a total of 20 people. 5 were, if you will, service providers, but we interviewed refugees living in the camp and in the community, and a requirement to get permission to do this study from the Ministry of the Interior. Because we would not just focus on refugees, we also had to interview a number of Jordanian nationals. And it's part of that business of equity building. We'll talk about that as well. And so, now I'm in the wrong direction. So, just put up this map, the thing that I discussed, so you can see the distribution of refugees in Jordan. Did you want to say something about that?
I'm sure that most of you know the camp, the Syria is toward the north of Jordan. And since the beginning of crisis, the Syrian cross Jordan through illegal borders, no legal. So most of them, they cross from all of these strips, even toward that angle, toward Iraq. So those are good for freedom. Now, just you see the dark part of the map toward the north, because most of the refugees, more than 85% of Syrian refugees, just settled in military government, Amman, Mafraq, and Erbil. So those 3 governments. So you see the most condensed area is the capital of Amman, this one, and here the Mafraq and Erbil, just this corner of the map. So those are where the refugees settled. We have 2 refugees camps. We have Azra camp, it's just here, and we have Zafari camp, it's just here. This is where the data then collected from Zafari camp, which is just 6 kilometers from the borders. We have very limited numbers toward the south, but all of Jordan, even this is the Red Sea and this is Aqaba, so we still have some Syrians there, but very little.
And so as Ibraheem said, all of our interviews are concentrated in the north. The Jordanian nationals we were not able to recruit in the far north, but recruit in Amman, which is actually important, and we'll get to that in a few moments. So we also interviewed providers, so I've got the key findings from that. We have pages and pages of text. So basically, healthcare in Jordan is very physician-centered, and comments from both providers and, interestingly, their clients is that it's by and large a profit-driven system, but there's a very strong public health and public hospital sector, as well as a military hospital sector. Everyone talks about the need for education, raising awareness about palliative care for the public. They even offered suggestions about how to do that, because they see a need for social and cultural changes. Need to work on the national level to define concepts, set standards. What's interesting is there's an assumption that we in Canada have that, and in fact we don't. Logistical issues, it was mentioned before about opioid availability. The Atlas, the Global Atlas on Palliative Care says in the MENA region less than 5% who need palliative care actually get it. And the numbers who get adequate opioid therapy is even less. The humanitarian relief focus and other priorities and influence of donor interest. Ibraheem has been very strong in talking about that, and we heard some of that today. Donors are not so interested in palliative care as saving lives. And refugee movements are limited, and pre-approvals are required. Did you want to say anything about that last piece there?
Now, for the urban, now there is a system in Jordan, not like Rwanda. Rwanda, the refugees have free movement, so they can go wherever they want. In Jordan, no, the camps, it's kind of closed area under the security control of Jordanian authorities, and if you would like to leave the camps, even for the treatments, you should have security escort, and you should be transported by the partner who would like to give the treatments for the patients. If you would like just to move and live in urban setting, it's a really difficult procedure. It needs it's a bailing procedure normally, where you need a Jordanian bailer to live just outside the camps. Still 80% of the refugees, 82% maybe now, still living outside the camps, but those 20% who live inside the camp, they have restriction on the movements. And the level of services available in the camp, it's always primary, essential, secondary. So the advanced level of services and the life-saving interventions normally available outside the camp, not inside the camp.
So having said that, there are more than 20 healthcare facilities in Zaki, including 2 hospitals. So the refugee perspectives, this is what we got from our interviews. When people were asked right at the start, they wanted to start actually and just mention something. When we ask people, why are you participating in this study? Because that's one of the questions that goes right across all studies. Everybody talked about wanting to make things better. It wasn't about money, although one person was actually hoping for that, and we did incentivize that. But the vast majority wanted to see things improve, and they were hoping to get some knowledge and information about what might be available to them. Nobody really knew anything about palliative care or had any experience with that label. When we explained palliative care and what it was about, people universally agreed it's desirable, it would be helpful. But again, they mentioned needing public education because anticipating death is not something that's a comfortable conversation in Jordan. And there are all sorts of myths and legends about religion prohibiting it, and that's not the case, but there are cultural norms that vary. People wanted mental health and social supports for their family first and themselves second. They were particularly concerned about children. There are stories about children in school. One child, 5 years old, having to come home from school because she wanted to be with her mother. She knew her mother had a terminal illness, and she was telling her mother she never wanted to leave her. She wanted to stab herself to death so she could go with her mother. And there's nowhere to go. Mother had no idea where to go for help with that. So broadly, economics, geography, stigma, gender roles, perceptions of social death and isolation were prominent. Particularly the social isolation came over in terms of the loss of the ability to work. That's an important network for most people. And in the refugee movements, particularly important because you also have left family behind. And so there's not an extended network. Gender roles, heavy burden for women who continue to provide for the household, continue with roles as mothers, caring for children, and they themselves have terminal illness. And I use this word waiting in this next one multiple times to emphasize how much waiting is involved. And we're not talking hours, we're talking days and months sometimes. Months sometimes for or days for pre-approvals, waiting months sometimes to get tests, certainly days and weeks are common. Waiting and delays and no treatment, waiting 5 months for radiotherapy, and then there's to be chemotherapy after that. So little or inconsistent pain relief. Someone shows up with a prescription, they have a prescription in their pocket, they can't afford to buy the meds, or they've gone and they've been told your meds won't be available for 2 to 3 weeks. Meantime, they're in agony. The other thing that was pervasive, I found, if the word addiction was ever mentioned or a caution expressed by a healthcare provider, guaranteed that patient is not going to take the opioid. They will live with Revenine instead of Tramadol. They will do anything to avoid narcotics. And one man talked about taking the meds back to the pharmacy after his wife had died. And he, in fact, was interviewed as somebody who's now facing a terminal illness and had since remarried. But no access to the Campus Biothèque Cancer Centre. This is the #1 treatment centre in the country, and it's a matter of it's available, it's very expensive, people can choose to go there, but generally, and I think it's still the case, I have to check with Ibraheem because policies change quite often.
Yeah, because this is among the refugees, there is some here goodwill funds available for refugees through this. But this is actually this is the fancy first-class center in the region, I would say, not only Jordan.
It looks like
And it's very, very, very expensive. And sometimes the cost of treatment for one case reach $400,000. Yeah, so it's really expensive. And this is among refugees. It's really it's an issue, access to Campus Biothèque, because they know it's a destination of even the medical tourism in the region. So that's why. But when it comes to the Jordanian now, it's the same thing. So we'll talk about it.
So I put this map up, and unfortunately the slide's a little high, and it was to show about distance. So you can see Amman here, and then Mafraq. Even Mafraq from the campus, 14 kilometers, and these journeys are just one direction. Irbid, 41 kilometres, and Man, 67 kilometres. They're there because people have to get a taxi or walk. And we're talking people with terminal illness, and they're walking in heat in the summer. But most people don't realise there's actually snow in this region in the winter. So it was just a little snapshot of some of the challenges. And to do this when you're ill is quite incredible. So the Jordanian participants, there are some similarities. It's the degree of difference that matters. Sometimes it's quite subtle. Again, no one knew of or had experience in palliative care, that's what they say. And yet when you're talking with people, they have sometimes pain medications, and sometimes have had some psychosocial support. So clearly, there are elements of palliative care, it's just not been labelled that way. And again, when it was explained what palliative care was, all of them viewed palliative care as desirable, helpful, and again, needing public education. Care is focused very much on the medical care, little or no psychosocial supports. This is what Jordanian nationals reported. The significance of the findings here, by the way, when we come to the providers, is their perspective about palliative care, and this is on mine. All 6 of our Jordanian participants lived in Amman. So it said social support is provided by the extended family. It's a difference, because the family's with them. A lack of the palliative care social services seemed to be a little less important. They wanted to get a holistic care method going to meet medical and non-medical needs, all emphasized. And again, it was about support for children when parents have to go for treatment. A mother's not likely to want to go on her own, and frankly, sometimes they're too ill really to go on their own. They have access to the Campus Biothèque Cancer Centre if they have insurance, and many did. They're upset about unsatisfactory care and a profit-driven system, because they talk about going to, use their health insurance to go to the private sector. It's better. It's got better hotel-type services, if you will. They felt treated a bit more respectfully. They had more physician time, but they felt that the interest was in the profit-taking, whereas the public sector was overloaded. And many people waiting to see, and there'll be a longer wait time. Pain management gaps that I've already mentioned. And seemed to be common. There was another slide. Oh, that's it. Yes. Right, Mr. Rock. Any questions?